Hello everyone, this is Airfellin bringing you another DOS Era adventure game. This one, as you can see, is from Sierra. Sierra being probably the best known maker of adventure games at the time, with their King's Quest and Police Quest and Space Quest and all sorts of other quest games. This one is the Colonel's Bequest. They probably chose that word specifically to make sure quest was in the title. First of all, we have our fairly standard copy protection scheme, where there would be a thing that came in the box that you would have to get insert information from before the game would let you continue. In this case, it's a set of fingerprints. The original game came with, I think it was a map of the grounds. On the reverse side had a thing with a bunch of red-colored pixelated stuff. And underneath that were blue-colored fingerprints. So it came with a red plastic magnifying glass shaped thing that you would put over that. It would filter out so that the red and white look the same and then make the blue stand out so you could read the fingerprints from that. At this point, I have an image that has the fingerprints on them, so I'll kind of stick that into the video if I remember to. In any case, I need to check that to see whose fingerprint this is. While I'm doing that, the original version of the game that I originally played, and without Sound Blaster compatible sound card, played music and sound effects on the PC speaker. It had very different music for this at this point. I'm kind of disappointed with what's playing now, actually. So while I'm checking the fingerprints, I'll kind of hum the original music that I remember. It went do 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 do. Do 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 do. Okay, it keeps looping like that. I guess this is basically your "Do you want to skip the intro" prompt. I'll pick no, I have not previously intended, so we don't skip the whole intro. I'm going to skip over part of it and summarize what happens, but we don't want to miss this part. As you can see, we do have a mouse cursor here, which improves the interactiveness. Means it's not fully text typing things in. We have a bit of animation here, some nice little music. We have the Colonel Dijon, no relation to Colonel Mustard, signing a will. The music is about to get kind of dissonant as a bloody dagger stabs into it and blood drips onto the logo, and yeah. As you may have guessed at this point, this is a murder mystery. You play as Laura Bow. She is a southern girl going to Tulane University. Her father was a police detective, or maybe a private eye. Either way, her father is a detective. She is studying to become a journalist. As a result, she is snoopy as all get out, which proves an important trait when you're trying to solve a mystery. It's also a very dangerous trait when the mystery is a murder mystery. Here we're introducing our cast. There's Colonel Dijon. That's a rather French name with a rather French title. Speaking of which, at first I thought Colonel was pronounced something like colonel, like colonial, kind of like it's spelled. Anyway, there's the Colonel, there's his three staff. Gertie, I believe, is his sister-in-law. Those are her two children. Ethel is his sister, Lillian her daughter, and Laura's friend. These, I believe, are his lawyer/accountant and his doctor. So, all together, we have 12 characters at the estate. And I think at this point it gets into... Yeah, here's the actual intro. Basically what happens is Lillian comes up to her saying, "Hey, we're having this family get-together at our creepy mansion down in the bayou. Wanna come with?" And Laura's like, "Okay, I guess." Then the Colonel reads his will over dinner. Basically what happens is everyone present, except the Colonel himself, and of course Laura, who is not regated in any way, is going to inherit equal shares of his fortune when he passes on. he leaves dinner shortly after that, leaving the others to start yelling at each other because there are a lot of feuds going on with the family. The two branches don't like each other. They don't like the Colonel's employees who aren't related. Basically, everyone hates everyone else for various reasons. So as Laura's father suggests here in her imagination, take lots of notes. If you, as the player, want to figure out what is going on here, solve as much as the mystery as possible, get a good ranking at the end of the game, take notes. Make a map, record where you find things, where you find people at different times, what you find out about people, where to find and how to use various items. Laura does pick up a notebook and theoretically take notes. I don't think you can actually read the notes during the game. Yeah, if you try looking at something, you just get a graphical view of it. Yeah, it doesn't give you a detailed description of what's actually in her notebook. When you get to the end of the game, assuming you get to an actual ending, it will show you the contents of her notebook. Anyway, in the standard Sierra Quest fashion, you can walk around the room. This is an 8-direction walking thing. I have sped up her walking speed. There's you can press the plus and minus keys. Default walking speed is pretty slow. It takes you a while to get around. Though you do want to be careful not to go too fast because, again, as a Sierra Quest game, there are places where you need to be careful about your movement. You have narrow places where you need to kind of wiggle back and forth. You have places where if you get too close to an edge, you can fall off into your death. Anyway, in this room, we have Ethel. That's Lillian's mother. Again, you have the mouse interface. You can click on things to walk around. You can right-click to examine. We have Ethel here. Ethel, as in ethyl alcohol, the kind that gets you drunk. And she is always drinking. So, one of the things you can do in this game is, in addition to simply talking to people, you can ask people about things. So you can ask Ethel about Lillian, for instance. Some are more informative than others. For example, if I ask Ethel about Rudy, which is one of those on the other branch of the family. Did I type that wrong? Oh, ask Ethel about Rudy. Prepositions can be very important. Here we find out that Rudy is a gambler. That's one of the things we need to know to get a good score at the end. It's also important to some of the plot and intrigue going on here. You can also try telling people about people, so I'm not sure this will do anything. Yeah, that's more useful when things start happening to people or you start finding out secrets about people. So unlike your standard Sierra Quest adventure game, you do not have a running score. You don't get points for solving puzzles and all that. You get a rating at the end of the game that depends on how much you've discovered along the way. Oh, and because I think I interrupted myself, the other important part of the will is that not only do all the benefactors get equal shares, which many of them are not happy about, there is also a stipulation that if any of them predecease him, their share will be split between the survivors. So right there, if you have people who don't like each other, they're basically stuck on this manor at least overnight. There's an obvious motive besides the bad blood between them for murder. So I'm going to save here in the hall because, again, the way this game is less protagonist driven than is typical. Rather than being, as you solve puzzles and explore, the game goes on and the plot continues. The plot is driven more by the other characters and what they're doing. So as you come across certain scenes, the time will advance. Different people will be in different places at different times. They'll be doing different things. What they do and where can be important. Let's take a look at the Colonel. Frail, ill-tempered curmudgeon. If you ask various people about the Colonel, you find out that pretty much none of them like him, and the feeling is mutual. He basically hates people. Estate is, as you can see from the state of the estate, especially when we start going outside and looking around, it's kind of in disrepair, not in the best state. The Colonel's pretty French maid, who is probably very apt in her duties, whatever they may be. So yeah, we seem to have interrupted something there. If only there was a way we could, kind of see what was going on without interrupting them. Turns out there is. If we look closely at the floor here, you can see on the graphic there's kind of a weird mark in front of that one thing. You can also look at the floor. Deep scuff marks on the floor near the armoires. And we have our fairly typical thing with text, or partially text adventure games. You need to be fairly specific about your verbiage. However, in this case, the descriptions, and also by right-clicking on it to get a description, it tells us what they're called. So, if we open the armoire, there's a classic adventure game thing where you need to be close enough for things to happen until it goes fully point and click, where they'll move to it automatically. If we try opening it, we see nothing, but as the scuff marks are on the floor, suggesting that it has been moved rather than simply opened. And here we go. There's a secret passage here. There's one on each side of the hall. There's also one on each side of the downstairs hall correspondingly. These have connecting doorways into the adjoining rooms, which are basically invisible from the outside. They also have these paintings here. So if you look at the painting, I think from this side it will tell you there is no painting here. But if you look at the paintings from the rooms themselves, it will tell you that the eyes look weirdly hollow and distant. So when you're in here, you can look through the eyes. And as you look through the eyes, you can see people having private conversations and spy on them. Things that they wouldn't do in front of Laura or anyone else, really. This is a great way to find out secrets, and as I mentioned, Larabo is kind of a snoop, and you kind of need to be kind of a snoop to figure out what's going on here. As you can see, there's a little something going on between the Colonel and his maid. It's the kind of thing that you could probably have seen coming, but it's a little different to have it confirmed. As long as there is no one in the adjoining room, you can go through these doorways. If there is someone in the room, it will say, hey, there's someone in there, you don't want to be discovered, and she'll back out before being noticed. And if you try to open it from this side, you can't. Even though you know it's there. So at this point, I'll just wander around the house a little. You can see the railing there is in bad shape. That's one of the ways you can get yourself killed. If you walk into the railing, she'll fall right through and apparently break her neck on the ground below. The chandelier there, it's not doing it at the moment, but sometimes it will kind of swing precariously. If you walk directly beneath it on the first floor, there's a chance it will fall and crush you to death. Which, kind of arbitrary, but you can see it swinging precariously, and it even makes a noise ahead of time, so there's that. So here's the billiards room. There's Rudy and Gloria, who were siblings on the other side of the family from Lillian. They're having a little conversation here. Time progresses, which suggests this is important, and we should probably go spy on them, but I want to keep this fairly quick, so I'm not going to do that at this time. Yeah. People don't like being overheard. They will cut their conversation short if you walk in on them. If we come across the hall here, here's the parlor. This is Gertrude, who is Rudy and Gloria's mother, talking to, I believe that's Clarence, who's the accountant. They're obviously talking about Ethel. Ethel kind of has a tragic story. Ethel, as I mentioned, is the Colonel's sister. The guy she was married to, something happened and he committed suicide shortly after, when Lily was still fairly young. I'm not sure how soon it is after she was born, but point is, she was still young at the time. Ethel did not take it well. She basically became an alcoholic after that. This had a pretty bad effect on Lillian also. The Colonel basically raised her. which, not the best person to be raising children. But she pretty much grew up on the manor, so she knows her way around the place, knows the people. Here is the dining hall where the dinner took place. If we continue through here, we'll come to the kitchen. In the kitchen is the only nice person in the entire game, really. The more you get to know the characters, the less you like them, pretty much, and that includes Lillian. Arceli is the Colonel's cook. She seems fairly distant and unfriendly, and at first it takes a while to warm up to you. You're kind of an outsider here. She doesn't know you. She's wary of people she doesn't know. But there is something you can do to befriend her, and once you do, she is, very friendly and helpful, and she's just generally a decent person, which the others are generally not. You have Rudy has his gambling problems, and he's a womanizer and a cad. A number of the others have gambling problems, some financial issues. Ethel, she may have noticed, has her drinking problem going on. You have a lot of people with various secrets they don't want getting out. You have embezzlement going on. There's basically a lot of things going on that people don't want other people knowing about and might even be willing to kill over. Here's part of the manor grounds. As you can see, it's seen better days. Here's one of the places where it can get a little finicky about how you maneuver. We come over here, there's a old barn. Inside is the Colonel's horse. If you open the horse's stall without first feeding him, the horse will kick you to death. One of many ways to die. Although, for all I'm talking about many ways to die, this is fairly generous by Sierra Quest standards. Most of the ways you can get yourself killed, you probably should have seen coming. Like, if you open the laundry chute and go into it, you fall to your death. If you go through the Rickery railing, you fall to your death. Description here suggests that when this plantation was in its heyday, it was not overwhelmed by swamp. The road actually went somewhere as road. But as it is, the bayou is encroaching on the plantation grounds. You can't leave until morning and the boat comes back. No one else can leave either. So you have one of those people who don't like each other and have ample motive for murder are all stuck in the same place until morning. So, wonderful view of the manor. There's the southwest corner. And there's a number of locations of some interest on the manor grounds. If I were doing a proper playthrough, I'd be going around collecting some items. Oh, for now, I just want to advance time enough for someone to end up dead. Because of course someone ends up dead. The game's pretty well telegraphed that. Okay, Gertie is no longer here. There comes Jeeves to serve a drink. Now that Gertie is no longer there, she is up and in bed. Why is this important? You'll see in a second. Oh, there goes the chandelier, shaking and making that awkward noise. Okay, went a little too far. So yeah, Gertie being in bed is so important that time advances to 8 o'clock and it's now Act 2. Why should that be important? Well, let's skip through the clock striking. You come out in the hallway. First thing you may notice is right at Laura's feet, there is something on the floor. Someone dropped a handkerchief here. Okay. Kerchief. Spelling is important. Can I get anything out of examining it, or is it just the picture? It's just the picture. So maybe she dropped it. Let's see, and... oh, that doesn't look good. The bed is empty. The window is open. The table is knocked over. There's a smell in the air. It suggests there was a scuffle here. I'm not sure if you can fall out the window or not. I'm not going to try at the moment. Someone's walking outside on the veranda, which presumably is how they got into the room. I always found that rather frustrating because there is no way for you to get there. looking at the manor from the outside, you can presumably... Excuse me. Looking at the manor from the outside, you can presumably get to it from the windows of the front rooms. There's another hint from your daddy. You can try showing people the things to people, see if they know anything about them. You can try telling people about things, see how they react. Oop, there's Gertie. Accidentally fallen from her upstairs window and killed herself, or was it an accident? Of course not. One thing you do have to be careful of when you discover a body, if you leave the scene and come back, the body will be gone. Whoever is killing people is fairly good at cleaning up after themselves. They won't leave much evidence at the scene of the crime. There's that classic not close enough prompt. But they don't leave much evidence at the scene of the crime, and if you don't search the body to determine cause of death, find anything that might be on them right away, the body will be gone afterwards. So here, we found her. She's fallen, died of a broken neck. But here's Gloria just inside. Maybe she noticed something. So we'll try talking to her. And I can't spell. Glory up. Come on. Gloria doesn't want to talk. She's listening to music. What happens if we tell Gloria about Gertie? After all, Gertie is her mother. She presumably at least kind of cares. Okay, she's kind of upset about that. So she goes outside to look, and... as I mentioned, someone is cleaning up after themselves. So Gloria goes outside and finds nothing. That's a recurring thing. Anytime you try to tell someone about what's going on, they can't find a body, they don't believe you. And sure enough, the body is gone. So that is a recurring thing with the game. If you're going to find out what's going on, you need to find out on your own with minimal help from the other characters, except what you can find out by interrogating them. And, yeah, I think that's about all I'm going to do for now. The game does end up with an interesting little twist ending. Maybe not so little, but it's probably not what you would expect. In any case, this has been Arafellin playing the Colonel's Bequest, and for next time, we're going to do something a lot less involved, not nearly so heavy, much more simple and lighthearted and quick, easy fun. Oh, I almost forgot. This being a Sierra Quest game, it wouldn't be right to finish it without having at least one death, so I mentioned the chandeliers being one of the more arbitrary ways to die, so let's go with that. Basically, if you walk down the middle of this hallway, there's a good chance it will fall on you. It may even be automatic if you're going down the hall. If you want to avoid that, all you need to do is not go down the middle of the hall. But, again, it's fairly arbitrary, it's easy to forget it's there. It's a Sierra Quest.